The 2 Cent Report!
Welcome back once again, one and all and one, and others. I am 1 Cent Justin.
And I'm 1 Cent Tristan.
I'm the attractive one.
And I'm the short one.
Yeah.
Pretty much summed up our whole existence.
Oh well. So we are here once again to talk about the disgusting, damaged field of video game industry and news.
And the spunk that seeps out of it.
Exactly, but not the good kind of spunk. The weird manky shit that's been there for a while. So, shall we just kick off straight with the news? Okay, well, actually first, I need to have a slight rant.
Okay, let's hear it.
So,
get it out.
I've been playing a wonderful game.
Mm-hmm.
Beats per minute, still playing it.
Okay.
I love it. And then I was like, you know what? You completely neglected Just Cause 2. You played it for 3 hours and you got a bit annoyed with it. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to play it again. I started up and my objective is like 3 kilometers away. And I'm like, cool. I get onto I finally managed to make my way there. Also, it seemed that the fast travel didn't work for that particular location. So I had to get into a slow car, drive 3 kilometers. I get there, I get onto the mission, and then I'm like, okay, cool. Now, I have to chase down someone and kill them. So I chase them down, but he turns. So I try to turn. The problem is every time I push the button, which I intuitively consider to be the handbrake button in all games, is the button that sends you flying out of a vehicle into a parachute.
Is it G? Or is
No,
it
it's shift.
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 So I was like...
The handbrake.
Well, to me, I always map it like that.
don't blame the game.
No, but then I was like, okay, no, let me actually just check what they say is the handbrake, because maybe I don't have to... Because the thing is, that button is really important. The parachute button, because you need to jump out of burning cars and planes all the time. So it's important to have one right there. And I was like, okay, cool. What is it? It's X. X is the handbrake, and that was when I decided that I'd had enough of the game.
You can't give up. You always play games to the end.
I was pissed off. I've been annoyed because also every time you reload, it has the shittiest saving system I have ever seen. It saves in like the nearest base. The nearest base could be 15 kilometers from where you have to go. So you could, say for instance, do some missions here and there, do whatever around, gain some experience, get some stuff, whatever. You save, you leave the game, you come back, you're back at that base 15 kilometers away, and you have to make the same journey. And I just decided, you know what? I have other shit to do. I like the first one. I find the main character very hilariously offensive because he has a very strong Spanish accent and his name is Rico Rodriguez. And he speaks like a character from Spy Kids. And I find him hilarious. And his appearance from the first game to the second game completely changed. He looked like one of these, like a suave ladies man, that. And then he changed into just like generic white male. It was very weird. But he still has a crucifix. Because why not? Because he's Spanish, I guess. And that's my story of Just Cause 3. Just Cause 2. And then I decided I'd have enough of this. I'm going to try Cultist Simulator. I don't think it's for me.
You would think, right?
I love the idea. I think it's so cool. Do you know how it works? It's like
I've heard about it, yes.
It's like a card game. But it's like a survival card game. And there's so many meters going down. And I died twice without realizing how I died. And then I was like, I don't really think this is for me. I think it's awesome. And then I was like, I'm just going to do Disco Elysium. Screw it.
You
so
went
far,
in.
An hour in. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy.
No, I'm glad you're happy. You found your inner peace again.
And that was all today. All of that. So anyway, do you have an annoying story or just straight to the news?
I wouldn't say I'm annoying, sir. I think I've got a... The only game I've been playing recently, I guess I could say, is I've been playing Songs of Six a lot again.
That sounds really familiar.
I did explain it before. It's a city builder. But I personally love the game. When I first got it, it was very difficult. I literally, in order to play the game, I had to watch. Now, there's one guy developing this game. I had to watch his self-made tutorial on YouTube before I could play the game. I bought it. I saw it on Steam, and I was like, "Hey, I like this kind of game." I wasn't a big fan of the pixel art at the time, but now I'm like in love with how they did it. What they did with it. It's not just plain pixel art. There's a little bit of 3D element to it that makes it really stand out nicely. And yeah, I struggled starting the game, got into it. Now I'm like, my God, could this guy have made these controls any better? It's not like that other one. Is it Dwarf Fortress?
Oh yeah.
It's not like that. It's not like that retro. It's definitely a lot nicer, a lot 16-bit pixel art. But I just love the detail that went into it. I know, like, I would never be able to get into Dwarf Fortress. Never.
Yeah.
Ever.
No, I tried. It's one of those games where, like Eve, where I'm like, I want to hear about it. I don't want to play it. Because when you hear about Eve, you're like, wow, there was like a battle that actually cost like $100,000 like worth of ships were destroyed. And you're like, that is so cool. And you see any gameplay and you go, Jesus Christ. But it's one of those things that you just go, that is so cool. I love learning about it. I don't want to...
You never want to play it.
I don't want to play it.
No, I can understand
It's
that.
cuck. Same with Dwarf Fortress. You just hear the most amazing shit. And I'm like, I tried. I don't know what the fuck is happening.
Also, a lot of the time, I believe that, like, when you hear stories about games, or you watch a game and you're like, oh, I want to play it myself. I feel that a lot of that for me comes on YouTube. And the problem with that is if it's a indie developer, they most likely paid the YouTuber or gave them, or not paid them, but gave them a feature that made them better. Like one of the games I love playing is the Owl. The Owl's one of those where you love watching the story, but it's fucking boring playing it, because a lot of the time the YouTubers that review it and play it get special access by the moderators, and there's more privately owned servers than there are legit servers, and the moderators often abuse the game when it comes to the people. I would say the average player will spend 4 to 5 hours in the game growing from a little infant, and then you end up getting killed and you start all over again, and you're like, how is this guy better than me? I mean, like, I played as one of the, at the time it was the strongest carnival. There were 2 of us, and we got owned by one younger than us because they just bled us to death. And I didn't understand, because I've been putting hours into that game. I was getting good at fighting, but for some reason I could never bite them. I had great turning angles and everything, and I just thought to myself, it's one of those games where you watch the story, you don't watch, you definitely don't watch or play the game yourself. You find somebody that had a great story, you listen to it. You don't want to watch just anybody play it. It's, you find the person, and that's how I felt about that. But I've never played Just Cause, and I think I will never will. I don't know. It's just not my type of game.
No.
I don't like big map games.
And the thing actually, which is really funny, is that they clearly decided when they made the second game, they were like, the first game was too big. The map was too big. Let's scale the map down to only 50 square kilometers. The first game had a 2,000 square kilometer map of mostly copy-pasted jungles. They look exactly the same, the entire map, but it was big. Which, you know, on the back of the box, they could be like 2,000 square kilometers of mostly cuck.
Remember when big actually meant something? Like when having a big map meant that the developers put enough time to fill the map. Now with procedural generated things, making a big map is not that difficult. Populating the big map is difficult. I mean, you would play a small map, but you know that every inch of that map was made with that intention. But then again, you get something like the Elder Scrolls. That was actually the reverse. They first went big into procedural, and then when people were like, no, it's too big, they went down with Morrowind.
What wasn't? Oh, yeah, of course, it was first procedural.
Yeah,
First two, yeah. But also Morrowind is like it doesn't have like one of the biggest worlds. And then they scaled it back for Oblivion and Skyrim.
I'm not too sure about that. I think Cyrodiil was bigger just because Morrowind felt bigger because running took stamina.
Okay, yeah.
You had to walk if you wanted to save stamina. And yeah, running took stamina, like big time. That was the biggest improvement.
It was also before quick fast travel.
You could
it?
fast travel. But
you had to fast travel on like giant things. I don't know much about. I haven't actually played it. I just know about that.
The Silt Strider.
Yeah, but it's like quite slow or something.
Well, no. I mean, it's fast travels instantaneous. Well, depending on how much you can load at a time.
Wait, is it one of those ones where you have to go to a place to fast travel?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Far Cry 2. Well, you didn't play Far Cry 2.
I played a little bit of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of one that did that. I can't think of one now.
Borderlands.
Borderlands does, but Borderlands is a bit different. It's Borderlands.
You didn't actually have to go to the point to fast travel. You can just fast travel between points.
Yeah.
So I would say, for me, it was definitely a case of the fast travel wasn't the problem. It was you didn't even have to discover the points. All you had to do was just know what the town names were, and you could travel to them. You just ask the guy how far to travel to here, how far to travel to here. They'll give you all the names, and you could go throughout the map from the beginning. But obviously, bad decision, because you just get completely confused. And everything used stamina. I mean, I don't think how they thought running in an RPG that's now got this big world was going to cost stamina. I don't have the time to walk all over Morrowind. I'm sorry. I modded that game out so that I could have my stamina.
You know, that's what I hated about Far Cry 2. It had a very limited sprint. And then Far Cry 3, they were like, nah, this guy can just sprint forever. Unrealistic is so much better.
It's so much more fun.
Yes. But anyway, shall we move on to some news?
Yes.
Stuff. So first off, we have some rapid fire news stories. Most of these are quite chilled, except for the first one, which is funny. So the last time we spoke about how 6 days in Fallujah, the devs were like, our game isn't political. It's only set in one of the most politically divisive wars of all time. It wasn't like multiple hundreds of civilians were killed, or it's just a fun game. So now they've completely reversed that, and they've said it is impossible to disconnect the game from politics. So I think people just called them on their shit, and they were like, okay, fuck, actually that was a very stupid thing to say.
Maybe they did. Maybe they tried their best to separate it, but then they realized, you know what? We just chose the wrong subject.
Yes. No, if you want to make just a fun shooter that doesn't have any politics, make like a sci-fi made-up world shooter, or set it in like a war that people don't really care about as much, or like a made-up war, like the Call of Duty, like Black Ops things, where they go so far in the future that they sort of are like, oh no, this is like we're randomly fighting some, like this is now the evil new Russian Empire.
Yeah, but I think also it has to do with familiarity for them to connect to the game. I mean, let's be honest. When Call of Duty first came out, we loved it. Why? Because we're killing Germans.
Yeah, which is always fun.
Horrible. Where am I? Even South Africans were killing Germans. We were fighting the Namibian Germans.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're fighting in North Africa.
Yes.
Against the Italians.
Who would have thought?
But yeah.
Now we put pasta on our booty rolls. Atrocious.
Which is a very South African joke. So, that's just the 6 days in Fallujah thing. It's just a small thing that's funny. So, now for some rapid fire stuff. They're making a AAA, big budget, open world Dungeons and Dragons game. That is literally the extent of the news. It has been announced. And I think this is more your reaction. Because just before you say anything, usually the good Tristan looks at the news stories beforehand, but now he's going in blind. So we're going to listen to, this is now a reaction channel.
And the reason why I went in blind is because I spent the whole day hosting a D&D session. So...
Fucking nerd.
First of all, I think that's amazing. Second of all, I'm a little bit wary. There was another one. Just excuse me while I grab my cellular
Just
device.
keep it far away from the
Yeah.
While he's looking, I'll make random noises with my mouth. As you can hear, my beautiful baritone voice is indeed gorgeous.
Soothing, even.
Soothing, you might even say. You never know.
Oh, where did I see it? If I don't find it immediately, I'm just going to...
He is scrolling.
Oh, would you stop?
Well, in the meantime, I'll say my bit about this. So my immediate thought was, well, cool idea that you can have like a nice big old, and it's nice to actually have it be a big budget open world thing. But I do think that the whole appeal of Dungeons and Dragons is the incredible amounts of choice that the player can make. I mean, it is literally has infinite possibilities. And the very nature of a video game means that it has limited possibilities. You cannot make an unlimited game where you could react to literally anything. There will never be like a dungeon master that could create things on the fly or respond to your random ass shit. So that to me is the kind of the worry with it. So I assume it's just going to be more like a set in the Dungeons and Dragons world, and it will be a fantasy story. That's what I think. What about you?
If it's a story driven, if it's not a creation kit, if it's not a DIY dungeon.
Yeah, I don't think it will be. I think that they said it's a big budget open world game, so I'm assuming that they're going the way of the Dragon Age Skyrim.
I hope they go more Divinity, Original Sins 2. The reason why I say
because it gives them a lot more choice.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. There is speaking about Dungeons and Dragons, I'm playing a steampunk game at the moment, old game. I loved it from my childhood, and I decided to revisit it. And I didn't realize at the time how much of its roots is set in D&D, and it's Arcanum of Steamworks and Magic Obscura.
I know the name, never played it.
I wanted to show you this, but I don't know how good your glasses are. I want you to read out the it's a character background, right? It's called Beat with an Ugly Stick.
Nice.
I love the description of this.
Shall I read it out?
Yes.
You are ugly. There is just no other word for it unless you consider hideous a better word. Children flee from you in terror, and even the kindest of souls find it difficult to stand your presence for long. As a result of your countenance, you take an extreme penalty to beauty, -6. But because you have had to defend yourself from frequent attacks, you gain a bonus to strength, +2.
That is
dexterity,
terrible.
and a slight bonus to all your combat skills. I love that.
Terrible. It's such in D&D wise, it's such a terrible stat. But the thing is, the backgrounds in this game is phenomenal. Like, I also like how these guys flat out refuse to put female dwarves to choose from. I was just thinking, like, did they just give up and just not add it in, or was it an actual choice? And then you look at how well they thought. I mean, like, this thing has got stats. I mean, like, you can edit all your abilities, like your strength, dexterity, beauty, and all that. And then you have then you can also put points inside actions or skills, I would say. No, actions. So like your melee ability, your pistols, because it's more steampunk, your haggling or gambling. You have all these other things, and then you have another section of skills where you can put it into blacksmithing or alchemy, or again using weapons, making weapons. And it's just like, okay, so I can have stats, I can have more action points. I won't call it action points. I can have more stats, and then you go into something. It's like, oh, then now there's skill stats. There's like ability stats, skill stats. I'm like, okay, and you go next, and it's like magic proficiencies, and they all can be paid with the same point. I'm like, you really have to go into this game thinking of what character you're gonna make. You can't go all over. You don't get enough points, and to be honest, you're gonna end up with this grey character, this boring piece of wet paper mache.
I mean, that's basically the first two Fallouts are like that. You need to choose what you're gonna do from the beginning. You need to be like, I'm going to be an idiot strong man. I'm going to be a genius weak man. I'm going to be just the computer guy. Like you, one thing.
I tried to go with a dwarf that was the apprentice to a blacksmith, which gave him better stats when it came to working craftsmanship. Because I wanted him to be a gun wielder. I wanted to be a gunslinger. All right, I wanted him to have his revolver and shoot people down, and that was his thing. And even simply taking that is difficult. Taking just going charisma is difficult because you're gonna run into a situation where you're gonna need the other skill. You're gonna think to yourself, if I just didn't go so hard into this, I would be able to get past this part easily. But you get reminded of your choices, and I love it because, like I said, it's more D&D. But the problem with D&D games is that if it's not a creation kit or builder, it's going to be a set story.
Yeah. And
it eventually is going to, they can have you do lots of things, but it all has to be relevant to the plot.
Yeah, I think it would be cool if they basically made a creation kit kind of thing. But I have a feeling it's going to be a story-driven game.
Tabletop Simulator did a great job of that. There's also another one, but I forget the name.
Doesn't Divinity Original Sin have like a map editor? You can make your own.
That was the most disappointing thing.
Oh, was it?
I purchased Divinity Original Sin 2 Definitive Edition because I love the GM creation kit in it. I thought, hey, if I can build maps, I could build enough maps to make a story sequence that I could then run players through with their own, and the character suite is so nice in that game. I love it. And I was saying, like, if I could do that, but it's not really what you can't form your own story. You can only form, like, if I had to say, why not host and then use that as a combat simulator? No, because then you have to get the characters to maintain characters in a game that they will never level up according to your DM. And that's the always. I need a kit that's not okay. At the moment, I'm using a nice sweet Astral Tabletop. I love it. I think I've tried Roll20, and I found Roll20 to be very, very what you need. And I found Astral to be more freedom because I'm a creative soul. I like making my own assets. I like doing that, and I think Astral gives me a better platform to do so. And I wanted a application that ran, that you bought it like a game. It's not an online application. You bought it, you downloaded it, you made your maps, you bought extra DLCs for different theme packs, you made your session, and then others just connected with their character, and then their character's logged on your account as that character. So whenever the guys connect, they play that character. I wanted a suite like that, and I know there's probably devs out there making it. My problem is the same as always. I don't want them to make a all-purpose D&D kit. I want to make a D&D kit for my sessions because I know what I want. I don't want it I want it in a particular style or theme. I wanted to have certain tools that will make my life easier and not just generic tools for everybody. I'm being selfish, but I think D&D, you have to be a bit selfish. If you're the DM, you have to own it. It's your session, but you also need to acknowledge the players. If you're the player, it's your character. This is yours. This is no one else made this but you. And I think you have to be a bit selfish when you come to creating worlds in D&D and characters.
But I thought that would be something that you would like to know about.
Well, clearly it was. Yes. I loved it. No, I loved it.
So now we have another little news story. That's another rapid fire one. and this is quite cool. Remember we spoke about the Diablo 2 remake that they're doing? They're going to allow original Diablo 2 save exports. So you can take your save from the original game and you can have the exact same thing on the remaster, remake, whatever it's called. Which, I mean, it's quite cool for those who want it. Because you get people who have built up, like, you know, they've been playing that fucking game since it came out 20 years ago. And they have, like, badass characters that they want to carry over into a new, prettier version.
I like the idea. I appreciate it.
And obviously you don't need to use it for those... Like you will never use it because you don't have Diablo 2.
I kind of want to... I want to be happy about it. But I feel like... Okay, Blizzard, what are you distracting us from? Because...
Well, I think it's still part of the PR. They fucked up Reforged.
There's a lot of character here. Hey, I'm waiting for the stick. There's a lot of character.
I think, you know what, maybe this is basically, it's like EA and Star Wars. They fucked up everything with Battlefront 2 and they were like, shit. We need something the fans will like. Let's make, what's that one called? You also liked it?
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. And they were like, cool. Now we can make Battlefront 3. Maybe it's like that. They want to do like a nice one that basically fillets and all the fans. And the fans can be like, oh, that's cool. Then they let their guard down. And then they make the Diablo 3 remake, which basically they'll just delete Diablo 3 for all time. And they'll be like, oh, oops. But then when they do they'll do like another World of Warcraft remake. And then that one will be perfect. And then they'll fuck up the next one.
They did announce the Burning Crusade.
Okay, yeah.
So, classic Burning Crusade. So now basically what they're doing is they're reselling you Warcraft.
Yeah.
They've Activision the fuck out of this.
Do you know what this is called though? Fucking clever.
They're literally reselling
But this is Bethesda with Skyrim. They're just like, there's a new platform.
Imagine,
let's re-release it.
Imagine, instead of releasing it on a new platform, you're selling the same game
on the same platform.
On the same platform, but with various, because it's that the Game of the Year edition, right? It's got the graphics of the latest version, but
the content
but the fixes and everything that people didn't like but still wanted to retain is there. And it was a smart way of going, how can we make money on the same IP without releasing something that would take away from the story? As the story is still going, you're never going to get a Warcraft 4, guys. Give it up. Put it on the shelf next to Half-Life 3. It's not happening. But now they obviously announced the Burning Crusade Classic. And it's basically, and then I'm pretty sure they're going to announce Wrath of the Lich King Classic.
Oh yeah.
And they're going to resell it because they made I believe that they fucked up on Battle for Azeroth. And I didn't play Shadowlands because I'm broke. As we all know, we've established this. We are poor boys.
The poverty cast.
Exactly. plug.
Well, in this country, sometimes, doesn't matter how much you plug, you still won't have power. It's another South African joke.
Yeah.
So,
next
story,
next round.
This is mostly for me. Okay, sometimes you have to be selfish, as you said. Now, this is something that I'm very about, but I'm like, okay, please don't fuck it up. Do something cool. They've just announced a Hellsing live action. Is it series? No, it's a movie. A live action movie of Hellsing. I love Hellsing. I know you don't like it as much.
No, I do. If you're talking about the anime, I do.
Because I love Hellsing and Hellsing Ultimate more so than the original.
Who's the producers?
Let me double check.
Please, because when you say they're making a live action anime adaptation, there's a I don't know if you guys heard about it. It's a very famous streaming platform that is very infamous for their adaptations. So I would rather not have them adapt it. If you guys agree with me.
Amazon Studios.
Okay, well, now there's a 50% chance of the main character being black and a woman.
Kind of the main character is a woman. Alucard isn't really the main character. Sarah Victoria is the main character.
He's the trans.
You know what? He seems the type who would be very fun and up for anything. Also, he has been a woman.
Yes, he has.
Yes, you see.
Yes.
You see. So he's very gender fluid.
Yeah, I guess.
He's more than happy to be fucking anything.
And that's
he's the eternal vampire.
No, but no, the thing is, I don't mind when there's certain aspects of a character that you want to change up. I don't mind that. But I do mind when you actually mess with the source material just so you can change that.
Yeah, well, my main thing. Did you also watch Ultimate or just the original Hellsing?
I watch both.
Okay. My big thing is that a lot of the creatures and such, for even like say Alucard, the main character, second main character, he likes getting shot a lot, and then he likes regenerating to freak out his enemies. I don't know how good that would look in live action when he like unleashes his inner demons.
Unless we get like the mask level of CGI on him.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried about the CGI mostly. I'm like, how are they gonna make it happen without making it look stupid?
They couldn't even make a game CGI happen.
Yeah. Shame. Poor Amazon. They're only a huge
conglomerate,
multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. They don't have any allies. Anyway, so yes, those are the main. Okay, there's one more rapid fire story.
All right.
This one's just funny. So you know what the HTC Vive is?
No.
It's
explain to me.
Valve's headset.
Of course, I know what it is.
I'm making sure for the people listening.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, I'm being the dumb guy. Yes.
Added a new implement to it. So we all know that a headset is a thing that goes on your face, covers your eyes, possibly also has headphones. So you get like noise cancelling headphones,
yes.
So you get the full surround.
Yes.
Cool. So now they have a new attachment, attaches to it, and it is a camera that records your mouth. So that they can, well, if you know about like the Vive, it also has those controllers, and it has finger recognition. You can move your fingers.
Another brilliant device influenced by the porn industry.
It will be great.
I'm being dead honest with you.
Well, yeah, no. Well, I think it's one of those things where I don't see any current uses for it that need to use your mouth.
No, just the whole head. Like I get VR, but there's no game that would like. The thing about VR is that it's borderlining Wii. We don't want to exercise. Why are you making us get up and exercise? We want to escape. Plug me in, you know? Now you got the VR. Now the VR's main challenge is getting through to lazy assholes like me. Where I'm just like, I don't want to exercise. I want to play VR, but I don't want to. I've seen those hook yourself up and run on the pad. No! You realize how fucking...
you don't want an omnidirectional treadmill?
And play Skyrim on it. I just complained that Morrowind has stamina. Now you're going to put fucking stamina in Skyrim and suddenly it's my fault. How does sprinting work?
Yeah.
So for me it's because now your stamina's going down. What are they going to do if your stamina goes down and you're still sprinting? Are they going to not make the treadmill harder for you to walk on? So, if you do make that, you know who to pay. Anyway, so VR for me has been like that thing. Like I'm not that active, so I don't want to play. I mean, like I've always wanted to play certain games, but I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of broken TVs. A lot of if you get a room, then you have to dedicate a whole room to it, and then you like bounce into a wall, and you fuck up your 14K headset. The most for me. Technical wise, I love the combination of either the Vive or the Oculus with Leap Motion. Because when Leap Motion first came out, the company I worked for, we were actually working on it and we were building simulators. And Leap Motion helped us go from the average Joe holding these controllers to them actually using them. Then we took a actual control panel from a machine. We put it onto a stand and we mapped the virtual control panel to it. Now this guy's using Leap Motion to track his hands. So he's no longer using these wands to move around and interact. Now he's actually using his hands, physically creating that muscle memory for it. And I like that. Now the whole mouth thing, I think is more gimmicky. And again, the only thing keeping VR really alive is the porn industry. Just like they did Betamax, VHS.
Yeah, no, well, they're
CDs.
always there. But I think what was pointed out in the article that I have linked here, it's they point out that this will also be probably first implemented by those you get VR social things like VR chat. Do you know what VR chat is?
So it's going to be VR orgy.
Well, do you know what VR chat is?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, it's not just an orgies. It's random people fucking talking to each other. It's like a chat room. It's weird.
I've understood those.
Me neither.
This is a chat room. We're chatting
this
in a room.
Chat, exactly.
And no one else can tell us better.
Damn whippersnappers!
Back in my days, it's the balls and the stone. I got some kidney stones I heard.
But yeah, so I guess I understand that, but yeah, I don't really see any real functionality for it yet, other than porn.
I guess I'll make lip syncing a bit easier.
Yeah, but but it's one of those things you always say, oh, I don't really see a point for it, but you say that because there isn't a point for it yet. So it's always one of those things where you're like, like there wouldn't have been a point to make things, say 20 years ago that were essentially VR games because there wasn't VR. I mean, but now there is VR, you can make VR games. So it's like that, Back before computers existed, you couldn't make video games because there wasn't a device to play it on. So it's just like that, It would have been, the first time they made a computer, someone was probably like, oh, what are you even going to do on this thing? And people were like, fuck, I'll put things on it to do. So I think
why do you need a calculator? Just get an Asian child. So fucking stereotypical.
Yeah, you're terrible.
Yeah.
Disgusting. I have to make stereotypes about you. Bearded man. One of the super straights. So, the next news story. Are you ready?
Let's go for it.
Okay. So, last year, E3 got cancelled because of, La Corona. So they were like, well, fuck, we'll do it in 2021. Yeah, so it's now been cancelled by Los Angeles. They were like, the tourism board in Los Angeles, they were like, yeah, you can't do a gigantic convention. No. So this has now been officially confirmed. It was one of those things where we were like, is it going to happen? We don't know. Probably, maybe. Who knows? It's the games industry. They like killing people. So you never know. Yeah. So it's now officially cancelled. That'll be 2 years in a row with no E3.
Wait, I thought they were going online with this.
They are going. They're doing an online thing, but it was still up in the air of whether or not they were going to do a live action thing. So they're kind of the question now, because also pretty much all of the big companies don't give a shit. Sony has its own.
Yeah, they've all got their own thing.
Nintendo has its own thing. Microsoft now has its own thing. Devolver has been doing its own thing for fucking ages. And I don't know if you've watched the Devolver E3
Activision
showcases.
Blizzard, we can never forget that.
Well,
BlizzCon.
Yeah.
But
they've always been big enough to just do their own thing completely. But have you ever watched the Devolver Digital showcases?
No.
You must. They are truly the most beautiful thing that's ever been created, because they fuck with they pay attention to all the trends and then they make fun of them all. And they have a character named Nina Struthers, who is literally the greatest video game executive. She's an actress. She's not really an executive.
Oh, okay.
But she comes out on stage, the very first one. It was a few years ago. The first one. They do one every year now. And she comes out on stage, and it's all made up. There isn't actually an audience. They have stock footage of audience whenever they need an audience shot, and they'll use the same particular shots. So it'll just be the same people laughing. And she comes out and she's like, for Devolver Digital, we are going to announce the best fucking games that have ever fucking come out. You all need to fucking play them and give us your fucking money. It's beautiful. And then when the cheers, everyone's cheering, and then she takes out a gun and starts shooting, and she's just like, shut the fuck up, we have trailers to watch. It's beautiful. And there's a whole narrative. She gets killed at the end of the first conference, and then she comes back as a robot, and then it's all in her head in another one. They use her, and they also bleep out her swearing, so she can't swear anymore, so she just says fudge and stuff like that instead. and she gets fudging pissed off about it. It's just beautiful. And they, they do the great. I love Devolver. They're wonderful. And they also made a comedy thing where a guy comes up on stage and is in front of a computer, and they're like, "No, we have a new thing. It takes your money straight from you," and the guy starts throwing cash at the screen.
Yes, yes.
And he's just showing at the screen, and eventually it catches his hand, and it sucks his whole hand in, and then it pulls out, and it's just a stump, and there's blood going everywhere. And you're like, I like this company. They're pretty cool.
So this was basically a segue into plugging Devolver's. Fuck E3.
Devolver's beautiful. And also my next video is actually about a Devolver game, so see, it works. Anyway, next thing. So, this is sad news. I know that you were very invested in this, Tristan. Valve has officially cancelled support of Artifact, the game that we all know and love. The game that everyone was so excited when Valve was like, we're going to release another game. And people were like, oh, now yes, it's a card game called Artifact. And people were like, oh, and then no one played it. And now, shame, Valve, despite the billions and billions and billions of people that play Artifact, development has now ceased. I know, you can cry. It's okay. This is worse than our Half-Life Episode 3. I know you loved Artifact.
Damn, no fucking clue what Artifact is. The thing is, the name rang a bell, but when you started speaking about card games, I'm like, I don't know that Artifact. What the fuck am I thinking of? And then I got upset because you reminded me of a game that I only remember the dialogue Artifact from, and I'm trying to figure out what it is that I'm thinking about, and you're talking about a card game?
Okay, so Valve made a card game a few years ago, and fuck all people play it. And now they've officially halted development. They were just like, cool, it's not working. It's basically the same as with Anthem, but it lasted longer than Anthem. And no one's heard of it. Which shows that Valve is a bit more tenacious.
You mean they have money?
Well, so does EA, and they funded Anthem, so they also have money.
But they're EA.
True, they did win the Golden Poo Award on multiple occasions.
Cease and desist.
So I knew how sad you were to learn of the end of...
No, man, now you got me pissed off, because now my head is telling me I know a game that has something to do with Artifact. I can't think of it, but I enjoy playing it. Now I need to go find it, to go play it, and realize that the nostalgia is not as good as the game. And just have an absolute ball. No, now you got me upset. Now I'm sorry. No, you actually got me upset, and I'm thinking about, like, what game do I remember with an artifact?
Well, lots of games have artifacts in them. So, I mean, it could be that. Lots of games have you, like, finding artifacts. Like Tomb Raider.
Nah. It was one of those old games. You know, where the geometry was low, the textures were stretched, and you just had a good time. You weren't bothered. Your dumb ass had played the game so much that you didn't even need to know the game. You knew that in 3 seconds you're going to turn left. You knew it like the back of your hand. Never bothered to learn the name.
Well, shame.
So the next bit of news.
We have 2 news stories that are kind of linked by theme. Corporate acquisitions.
Oh, okay.
So, some acquisitions. Epic Games, who are, as we know, most famous for Unreal Tournament. And I suppose Fortnite now. And they have acquired Mediatonic. Do you know Mediatonic?
No.
They made Fall Guys. So, if you know Fall
Guys...
That
was not long at all, hey?
No.
The money's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now they've acquired that, which... obviously Mediatonic put out the thing saying that Epic is giving them like full creative control, they can carry on doing their thing, which I kind of believe, because Epic has kind of always made that their thing, to just be like, we're just going to acquire things and let them keep making money. They're not like EA. They don't seem as golden pooish.
Epic. I think the reason why Epic is not as pooish is because, yeah, Epic's making a lot of money. People joke about the money, but throughout it all, Epic is not so much a publisher as they are a developer. I feel that Epic has been in the trenches with all the other games. They understand. Yeah, they rode the Fortnite train to make money, but think about it. Wouldn't you?
Fuck yes.
Exactly. So don't blame them. My thing is this. They've stayed more true to what games are about than any other company.
Yeah. No, I mean, they could have just been like, cool, fuck it, we're just going to do Fortnite. They're still, like, I think last year, they won an industry lifetime award, not for any of the games they made, but because of the Unreal Engine. Like, people tend to forget that it's like one of the biggest engines in the world. People tend to like forget about that and they just think about Fortnite.
I mean, one of the best-selling games was a demo for the engine. Unreal Tournament was a demo to show off what the engine could do, and they ended up making a load of money on Unreal Tournament.
I fucking love that game.
And then the third one came out, and everybody was like,
"Yeah,
it looks good," but I call it the Gears era, where every person was this burly, high definition, a whole lot of details that didn't really mean much, but it was there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I didn't much like it. I like 2004. Unreal Tournament 2004.
Everybody liked 2004. Everybody. I still have my own copy of it with my account.
Nice.
Oh man. No, our thing is, I've always enjoyed it, and I thought it was like how great are you? You're not just pro gamers. You are pro the industry.
Yeah.
You're not being toxic. You're not going for the money. Yes, Fortnite's a cash cow, and there's been horrendous stories about predatory microtransactions. But the fact is, I always say this: wouldn't you?
Yeah.
At least they are working with Fortnite to add something in it.
Yeah.
It's not like EA releasing FIFA again.
I wonder though if, because I remember a report a while back when, this was years ago though, it was before Nintendo released the Switch. It was when the Wii U was still their thing, which was pretty much a failure. But there was a report that came out that said
exercising
that
gaming.
They said that Nintendo could operate at a loss for 20 years before going bankrupt. Maybe it's like that with Epic. They're accumulating so much money that they will be able to weather the storm when Fortnite eventually does pass them by. And then they would have built up other things, like the Epic Game Store. They took the opportunity to start up something else. It's very clever, very savvy.
But the things have always been savvy.
Oh yeah, they always have.
No one really knew. You could go back in games and you will see the Epic. You will see the Unreal Engine. But Epic was already making bank on the engine. Right? Now you look at that, because the Unreal Engine was the next big thing after the Quake engine, I believe. It was the next big...
yeah.
When the Quake engine came out, it expanded the gaming universe. But when the Unreal Engine came out, I felt like it did the exact same.
Yeah.
And I know other studios started developing their own engines and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, tech carried on.
Yeah, but it felt very, let's copy each other. And then Unreal Engine took the next step.
Yeah. And
I think that if it wasn't for Fortnite, because they're hosted on their own thing, Fortnite is seen as its own entity. Kids will tell you Fortnite before they tell you Epic, before they even think about Unreal.
Oh, definitely. No, they don't know about Unreal.
but that's what I'm trying to say, is that I think that Epic has always been money savvy, and they've always been that business that understands and will keep on developing. I don't think them to be money hungry. They've been in this industry with money for a long time without making any absolute game-ending corporate mindset decisions. They haven't gone toxic. They haven't gone corrupted. They have money now, and people are starting to see that. Yeah, Fortnite was pushed, but the thing is, you go, oh, Fortnite, you see it everywhere. the fact that you see it everywhere and you still go on and you still seeing it everywhere is a testament to how good of a game they managed to take it. Yeah, it's a money grab and it's milking it, right? But I tell you what, Fortnite, you guys may be going, oh, it's milked, it's milked. Because you see it everywhere, because it's advertised, because it's still popular. But let's take a look at Mario.
Okay, this is constantly my thing though. I still remember this from back in the day when I got very, very annoyed about people. Now, I agree with the people who are like, oh god, there's a new Call of Duty every year. There's a new Assassin's Creed every year, although now there's one every 2 years. But, you know.
Yeah, no, Ubisoft is dialing down.
Slightly. But, you know, it's still the same vibes. And I remember just going, why is only like Activision and Ubisoft get shit for this? Because Nintendo released, I remember, I counted the 1 year, I can't remember what year it was. There were 10 games with Mario in it in 1 year. So when it comes to, like, creatively bankrupt companies, that you can't, they've released, because they'll be like, oh no, but they released so many games. Yeah, they released Mario, Legend of Zelda, Metroid, all came out in the 80s. And then they made Pikmin, and then they made Splatoon. And that is their entire library. I think there's also that, what it's called, like, Gem something, I can't remember.
Basically.
But basically, like, they've got, like, less than 10 games. They have Kirby. And then they have things which will be like, you know, Wario, which is Mario. So it's sort of like, you know, Super Smash Brothers, which is literally just, let's take all of our characters and put them in a fighting game. They don't have any creativity. I think they have like amazing developers and they let them just waste away, making the exact same thing every single year. That's my take. I don't like Nintendo much.
I'm not a big fan of Nintendo either, to be honest. And the reason why I don't like Nintendo is because it's not you. Nintendo was selling nostalgia back to you before selling nostalgia was even a thing in the gaming industry.
Oh yeah.
They went in hard with a flagship, and they've never backed away from it, no matter anything. And the thing is, Nintendo's always escaped everything. Does Nintendo get flack that they're a Japanese company and their flagship is an Italian stereotype? No.
I think originally he was. It's weird though, because like originally he was supposed to be a plumber, but
no, originally he was from Donkey Kong, wasn't he?
Yes, he's originally from Donkey Kong. He was just called Jumpman.
Yeah,
was his original name, and he didn't really have a function other than being he jumped over barrels and climbed up ladders. Of course, Donkey Kong is another one of their few franchises that they have. I'm just, but also I like how we're not ranting about Nintendo, and this started off with Epic and an acquisition of Fall Guys. Which, to be fair, Fall Guys is the kind of thing I could imagine someone like Nintendo making. Like, it's got that kind of a cartoony art style. It's very wholesome, you know. It feels like it could be a Nintendo game.
No, it will never be a Nintendo game. It'll never be. There's no reason to make a new game.
Well, okay, well, also one of the things is, of course it isn't Nintendo because it's a multiplayer game. And Nintendo, despite people being like, please make, they'll be like, we will make a Splatoon and nothing else.
But I think Nintendo gets a lot of flack for milking, but they're the Valve that chose to continue.
Yeah.
Because, face it, their main income is their platform and their developers for their platform.
Yeah.
Think of the NDS here. I don't remember anybody saying anything nice about the Nintendo releases for it. But I've heard excellent reviews from all the third-party developers.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is they're not supplying a game anymore. They're supplying nostalgia to keep themselves relevant. And what the main focus is their platform, their console, their handheld device. And like I said, they're the Valve that decided not to quit.
Yeah. Although, I mean, Valve did make Alex a while back, which is literally the only reason I would want a VR headset, because I'm like, I do like Half-Life games. Although it looks scary. So I'm like, I don't do well with horror games. It's not a horror game, but it looks like one in a lot of parts. And I've seen some parts that look really, really cool where a monster's chasing you. I'm like, that looks great to watch. not to play. I'm a scared boy. But anyway.
I don't think, because like I said, the company I work for developed VR, and I realized instantly that I get motion sickness. And I haven't seen the greatness about VR. The only thing I really would use VR would be to play a first-person shooter. I like an RPG, just add a little bit more element to it. But again, I'm so used to aiming with my mouse that my dumb ass is going to look left, be like, and then aim, and you're like, oh, where the fuck am I going? Because I'm always looking at you, but I've always wanted to try it at that level, but I've never, like I said, I don't want to get up. I don't want to be strapped to a machine that makes me exercise. The reason being is I've done 26 years of not doing that. I think I've got it down, so I don't want to lose a skill now. You know, it takes years to be able to sit straight through a weekend playing games, to be able to get up, sit at my desk, and then only leave for the necessities, and then just go to bed, and then get up and do the exact same thing the next day. I think it takes a lot of dedication. I think people understand this. Like, I only got really a real response when my brother, my younger brother, who's a console gamer, but really got into consoles at the time of the Battle Royales. He's now playing Apex. And he always complains about his back being sore and his butt being sore, and he's always sitting and laying down. And I'm like, I'm so used to, I'm more comfortable sitting in one position for hours than shifting. My body knows how to regulate my blood. My body knows not to give me bed sores, kind of thing. It's weird. You laugh at it, but it's like...
Well, I get when I'm playing games that have intense movement, like bullets per minute. It's all about dodging. Like, you know, there's enemy projectiles going all over the place, and you have to be jumping, dodging, moving the entire time. And my right hand starts cramping from that. But then all I do is I push pause, and I literally just like flex my hand for a minute, and then it's fine again. But this has been happening for as long as I can remember playing PC games. Just my right hand. My left hand, God. WSD keys. That side. Left. God, I can't tell hands anymore.
It's because you're clutching. Your claw.
Yeah, probably. But anyway, should we do the next acquisition?
Yes.
Now this one is a much smaller acquisition, but I figured, well, it's an acquisition, so I can lump in nicely here.
Mm-hmm.
This one is the guys who are making Torchlight 3, which, you know Torchlight, eh?
Yes, yes.
Okay, because I know you like dungeon...
Crawlers?
No, there's that one very specific dungeon crawler called Dungeon something. Dungeon Siege!
Yes, yes.
Dungeon Siege.
Yes.
Okay, because I know you like Dungeon Siege, so I assume you also maybe like Torchlight.
No.
Don't you?
Yes. Okay. It's weird. For me, Torchlight has been a great game. I love the animation style and I love the setting. But I think every single time I've played it, I haven't felt like I'm having fun. I felt like I'm playing the perfect dungeon crawler. And I don't do well with perfect games. I hate perfect games, which is why I don't really like a lot of Ubisoft stuff, because it's so clean for that particular IP.
What about Rayman Legends?
Rayman Legends has a flaw.
What's the flaw?
Rayman Legends has a flaw. It is not perfect.
No, it's the closest I've ever come to perfect. I can't think of a criticism.
I can't think of a criticism, but it's not. I think I know it. It's not clean. I think Assassin's Creed is clean. Now, what I mean by that is, or better yet, refined.
Refined, I think, is it?
I think Rayman Legends.
Not the first Assassin's Creed. That's janky piece of shit.
Is influenced by so much more. There's so much going on in there. Assassin's Creed, and it's starting to get to with Far Cry now, is so obsessed with being up its own arse. Like, I'm an Assassin's Creed game. Why? Because I'm an Assassin's Creed game. I do the box collecting. I do the purchase and the jumping down into the cave.
Well, I wouldn't really say like perfect game to describe it. I would just say it's a very formulaic game that's figured out how to be itself.
It's refined.
It's very refined.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's up its own arse.
Yeah. Like Far Cry's been like that for a while. Like Far Cry 3 was pretty fucking close. And then Far Cry 4, they kind of, I think, nailed it, but it didn't feel as good as Far Cry 3 because, well, it wasn't fresh, it wasn't new. It was doing the same thing as 3.
It was like it was like rebreathing your own air.
Yes. It's very fun. Okay, well, I only put this news story here because I thought you might like Torchlight, so this is kind of
awkward.
Not worked out. But anyway, the Torchlight 3 devs, which is actually founded by the people that, well, one of the people that founded the studio that made the first Torchlight. So it's like, it's still a different studio, but made by the same people, you know. And it was acquired by Zynga. If you know Zynga.
No clue.
It's pretty much the big mobile game. I think that they make like all the mobile games. I can't think of any now.
All the mobile games that I can't think of.
Because the only mobile game I can immediately think of is Candy Crush. And they did not make Candy Crush. That was made by King. So, but it's... I think that they made Farmville as well. They own like all of the... Them and King are like the two big mobile game developers in the world. And they were also really bad people who did a bunch of... If I'm remembering correctly, there was some tax evasion stuff, I think. And also just the usual industry.
It's not their fault. The microtransactions were coming in too fast. What were they supposed to do?
Exactly.
They can't keep up with all their income. You know?
So, those are all kind of the rapid-fiery news stories.
Okay.
So, we finished with acquisitions. So now, the tale of Bethesda continues, my dear good sir. My dog has come into the room, and she looks expectant. I'm afraid there's nothing for you. Yes, Kayla. It's okay. I can't let you out now. Okay, so anyway. So, Bethesda. They were acquired, as you know, by Microsoft. Now, the thing is, that was a huge acquisition. Okay, it was for...
The final sale of Skyrim, guys. The final sale.
It was a $7.5 billion purchase. Now, the thing is, what they actually announced before was that they had basically put through the paperwork to be like, we want to acquire you. They did not yet own Bethesda. It's a process. It doesn't just happen quickly. And I don't know how much you know about antitrust laws.
As much as I know about Artifact.
Okay, so antitrust laws are, they were basically first created in the 1800s because some companies were getting a bit too big and they were becoming monopolies. So it's basically an anti-monopoly laws where they would force companies to break up if they basically, you know, became so good at what they did that they destroyed all their competition and therefore undermined the entire idea of like competition and capitalism. Which is
continue.
Basically,
sorry.
If you're too good at capitalism,
you get laws.
punished. So basically, like this is the stuff that's also happening at the moment to Microsoft and Alphabet and Facebook and Apple. They're all currently being looked at for antitrust things to be like they've consolidated too much power. They'll be like it's unfair that like Google is the main place to go for video viewing, YouTube. They're the main place to go for email. They're the main place to go for search engines. It's seen as basically they control too much. Now, you have to go through antitrust commissions before you're allowed to make particularly big purchases.
That just sounds like losers that are being sour.
Well, the thing is that the idea is that it's going to fuck over the consumers. If, so this is... The reason it all came about in the first place was because of people like Rockefeller and Carnegie in the 1800s, where these guys would basically, like say Carnegie was the big steel guy in the 1800s in the United States, and he owned the mines that mined the gold, the iron ore. He owned the refineries that turned into steel. He owned the trains, all the trains that transported it, and he owned all the distribution centers that sold it to the places in the first place. So he controlled the entire process. So because of that, he could cut down the costs, which would then cause all of his competitors to die, which then he would buy up. And so he ended up basically controlling all of Steel. And then once you do that, you ramp up prices, and there's nowhere else for anyone to go. They have to buy from you. So basically you destroy all other companies, just so it's just you. And this is seen as basically breaking the laws of capitalism itself, because capitalism is built on the idea of competition. And if there's no competition, then it's not capitalism.
But my thing is this: a loophole like that shouldn't exist in the system. For them to try to patch it up just shows. I mean, like, but you also think about it's only when capitalism really gets affected that they step in. Otherwise, they're cool. They're cool with monopolies.
Yeah, no, they're fine with them until something happens.
Until it starts eating out of their pocket.
Yeah. So now the whole thing was this had to go through the boards, basically, and has now officially been okayed by the EU and by the United States. So now the acquisition is definitely going to happen, which means that Microsoft came forward to say what this means. So they're like, cool. We have a contractual obligation, that's what they said, for the games that are currently being developed to appear on all the systems. We will maintain our contractual obligations. Bethesda will continue doing that. You know, the games that are currently on like PlayStation will stay on PlayStation. We will not pull them off. However, games made in the future will, as Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, said, will only be available to platforms that have Xbox Game Pass, which means PC and Xbox only. So basically the next Elder Scrolls, the next Fallout, will probably not be on PlayStation, and they will not make their way to whatever Nintendo has when that finally happens. So basically, they have now come forward to straight up say, yeah, the next Skyrim is not.
And you know why?
Because they're fucking clever.
Mods.
Yeah, well, I know that they did some mod stuff on like the PlayStation and on Xbox for Fallout 4, but that was a weird mod thing.
Thing is, those mods are not those are the mods that. How do I explain this? Those are the mods that everybody okays and says is nice and goes onto the mod store. Right? Those are the mods that the company has screened and put on their store or uploaded to their server. That's like I don't know how to explain it. It's not the raw form. It's not the craziness you can get out of them.
Oh yeah, no. Well, they have to make sure that there's not going to be anything that could be
controversial.
Yeah.
So I understand that, and I'm not too fazed by that. The reason why I say this is because they need to realize that Bethesda needs a fix, and maybe, who knows, maybe if they realize that if they're going to be that whole Game Pass thing, maybe they realize that it was a good thing, because porting, people don't think porting is difficult. Let's take a look at Batman and why porting is very, very difficult.
Talking about Arkham Knight?
Yes.
Yeah.
A game is made on an engine for that engine. And a console is made to run that specific engine. Now, whether it's a language difference, everybody does something differently, right? For instance, when pouring water into a glass, some people want to hold the receptacle and whatever is holding the water and pour it in without touching a table. Some people will put the receptacle on a table and pour it in there. Some people, well, I don't know who these psychopaths are, but would rather dip the receptacle into the water. But you understand?
Well, I mean, that's with punch.
No, but or some people use a ladle.
Yeah.
The thing is, what I'm trying to get through here is that everybody does something differently. Do you have the same rituals? Now, companies become comfortable with that one way of doing something. So Say you as it doesn't seem big, but say you write your code in one language, and another system works in a different language, and another system works in a different language. Now you have two choices. Either get a platform like Unreal that can build into the different platforms, or make your engine able to do that. Now what I mean is that the PlayStation that's made for PlayStation, why in the world would they make the engine compatible with Xbox when the sole purpose of that engine is to run on PlayStation? So they optimize it, and that's how they get their amazing graphics, because it's optimized to work on that exact hardware specifications. Now you're taking a game that was built on one specific framework, on one console, maybe 2-3 console generations. But I'm going to go with one console generation that was built for that. Now you're going to put it on PC. What makes PC so difficult is that it's all custom. You're never going to get the same 3 people on the same system. If you do, it'll run the same. But there's always going to be this hard drive runs at this frequency, this graphics card does this, and different audio drivers, different setups, different operating systems. And at that point, it becomes hard to facilitate all of that. And then you have to think about language. Now, you built the system to only work on PlayStation. Now you're going to take it over to maybe even a different language, which means that either you have to convert it over, and that's where ports become difficult, because it's not just taking it and installing the software on a disk that's compatible with Windows. It's about rewriting it so that it runs on that operating system, and people don't realize that porting a game is not that easy. Red Dead Redemption 2, porting a game is not that easy. If you're making a game for PC, you most likely can port it to console. Reason being is that all games are made on PC. All games are made on PC. Yes, there are games made on Mac. What I'm trying to get through here is that I'm not saying all games are made on Windows. I'm saying all games are made on a personal computer. And therefore it's easier because the infrastructure is already built. Like I said, Unreal can export to console as easy as it can export directly to PC. Right? But an engine made for a console, designed to work on specific hardware for that generation, is not so easy, because it's designed for one purpose and now you're giving it a second purpose.
An actual very, very good version, like non-abstract version of this, is the PlayStation 3. If you know about a bit about the hardware there, because basically like the Xbox 360, the Xbox One were all essentially built on like the same kind of hardware. You can like play Xbox games on Xbox One. PlayStation 3 decided to did a completely different thing, which meant that you can't even play those games on a PS4. It doesn't work. It's a completely like foreign. It's like it would be the same as like trying to port a Wii game to the PlayStation. Like it's built with completely different ideas in mind.
The software is built for the hardware.
Yeah.
And it's only going to run on that.
And they made some fucking beautiful games on that system.
But that's why.
But yeah, it's specifically for it. Yeah.
And it's a great concept because you're able to get the most out of your generation like that.
But it also means that as soon as a generation ends...
It ends.
It ends. And that's something that pisses me off.
And there's no backup. Because then you would have to rely on ports.
Yeah.
Because the only thing that really gets archived is PC games.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's why I have said this before. Fucking Jack and Daxter games that I don't get to play anymore. To the point where I got crazy enough that I was like, I really want to watch the opening cutscene for Jack X. And then I found that there's an 1.5 hour long movie where someone has put together all of this cutscenes from Jack 1 to 3.
And you watched it?
And I haven't yet, but I plan on doing it.
You're going to make a video about it.
I fucking love Jack. And I don't get to play it, so I will just make everyone uncomfortable. But yeah, so that can be, well, hopefully that allows them to then focus on not having to port to the PlayStation. But at the same time, it is kind of shit that people on PlayStation don't get to play it. But at the same time, my whole thing has been like, the whole console wars nonsense. Just port all of your games to PC. They don't give a shit. Like, if a hardcore gamer a hardcore PC gamer after 5 years has not bought a PS4 for Bloodborne, they are not going to buy a PS4.
For Bloodborne.
Put it on PC, they will fucking buy that game. you see, it's like, and also like the new God of War, which I want to play so badly. Horizon Zero Dawn, which is now on Steam, and I haven't played, but I want to. You know, like all of these games, I'm like, fuck, I want them. I haven't used a TV in 6 years. I don't give a shit. I don't want a fucking console.
I heard some great news. I heard some amazing news about South Africa.
Tell me.
In order to buy the next gen consoles, you have to have proof of a TV license.
Oh, that's good. Well, do you know about the other thing about TV licenses?
Mm-hmm.
That they want to try and charge people who've got Netflix.
Yeah. But it's so crazy. The government's like, we're losing so much money because our government TV is so shit that you cannot buy a console unless you're paying for a TV license. Now think about this, guys. We had a situation earlier before fiber, and even it was still like lurking in the dark in ADSL, the telephone line. You would still have to pay for a telephone line in order to have internet. And then that kind of went away with LTE because everybody was using LTE.
But this is only like a few years ago.
No, LTE was big last year. Fiber only reached us last year, and that was only in the posh areas. Now it's seeping in, and we're able to get the fiber. But remember, 2 years ago, people were still using telephone line internet. Okay, this is how behind we are. And now you're looking at this, right? You're looking at this and you're thinking, okay, now who loses money? The government, because they're not using telephone lines. Now they want to charge you TV licenses to play games. Do you know what my solution is? I just get a monitor and speakers, and I have plugged my Xbox into a monitor and speakers. And I've been playing a lot of Xbox games recently because while I work, there's nothing for me to do, but I can't go on my computer, so I just play games in the background. The work comes in, I do my work, I always pause my game or even turn off the console if it gets hectic. But if I find the time, I play games, and I've been getting into my console more lately. And I'm thinking like, even my TV downstairs, I don't use. My TV is plugged into my laptop that's downstairs. My laptop's got a wireless keyboard and mouse. I watch Netflix and I watch YouTube. I literally use my TV as a monitor. Why?
Yeah.
Because I've got a sound system connecting to my laptop. My laptop's the hub. The TV is just a monitor for me.
To me, for a long time, my thing was like, the only reason the government television is like worthwhile ever is because of the news. Then I discovered News 24, and then I was like, "There's a website for that."
Or just YouTube.
Yeah.
Just
There's no point. There's no point in watching TV.
Also propaganda and adverts.
Yeah.
But now we're getting that online anyway.
Exactly.
So.
But oh well. So, next story.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a fun one. Do you know Hardsuit Games? Hardsuit Labs.
Yes.
Okay. So they're currently, I think they were doing they were making, what's it called? Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, which has both a dash and a colon in it. So they were making the game, and people were really excited and all that stuff. And then, like, the development got pulled from them. It was a very weird situation. No one really knows exactly what's happening.
Just like the title.
Yeah. And then, now, it seems that they're laying off people. So now it's resulted in layoffs. So that's just a shitty, situation. But it's because of, who's the publisher now? I'm going to make sure the publisher, because now I can't remember their damn name. But there are some great people, and and they've been screwing over
studios left, right, and center.
Yeah, they've been great. So let's just double check who they were.
This is just filler so you can load up his page.
Exactly.
On his telephone line internet.
I don't have a telephone line anymore. Paradox. Published by Paradox.
Yes.
So that's just, there isn't really anything else to the story, it's just shit.
I wasn't a fan of the first game. I actually played it. Now, the reason why I say this is because I only know 3 people that have actually played that game. And one of them owned it. And it was back in the day when you could lend someone a game, they could install the game, use the CD to play it, and then later on go, this was a good game, thank you for lending it to me, you may have it back, and be done with it. Like, I'm not talking about having to do frequent updates. I mean, yeah, sure, if a game was released broken, now the perks for this is that. But I'm talking about owning a game and having the right to do whatever the fuck you wanted to do with that game. Now, if I own a game, I can't let anybody else play it unless they're actually on my computer playing my game.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, back then, games didn't have Steam sales. Prices could never be that low because physical copies
were expensive.
So you could only go a certain, now you can get like games for 90%. Oh fuck, like I bought all the Valve games for like $10 a pop.
Exodus is on sale.
I saw.
And it's dirt cheap.
I've been thinking about it.
I look at that every day I go onto my computer. And then I realize, I like driving my car. Car requires petrol. I have to realize that I'm going to have to save up money, and by the time I have that money at the end of this month, the sale will be gone.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have to wait for Epic to release it for free. Speaking about that, Surviving Mars.
Yes, Surviving Mars.
Always wanted to play it.
Okay.
And I'm going to do so. It's busy downloading now. It's downloaded the whole day. My internet, I won't say my internet is slow. I would just say that I have an unfortunate issue where Epic doesn't know when to stop. My Epic has got a Chrome syndrome where as long as I have bandwidth, it will use it. So
the Epic Game Store is just like not optimized for existence.
Here's funny. I will download it 2 megabytes. It will show on my my network monitor that I am pulling 20 megabytes. Epic is only downloading at 2 megabytes. And it's downloading so because my wife is sitting right next to me and we're downloading the same game. Hers is almost done. Hers is almost done. It's going through the verification phase. I'm still 30% in downloading. I'm downloading 2 megabytes per second. And my bandwidth is showing me that I'm using 20 megabits. If I go to 4 megabits, I'm on 40. Now I only have 100 meg line. So when you're on 40 and you're downloading it at 4, there's a big problem. Plus, now people are complaining because they see that I'm hogging the bandwidth. When in actual fact, I am not. My Epic just loves to run hand with the bandwidth. I've tried uninstalling this game, this launcher, and reinstalling it, completely wiping my hard drive to get a fresh install of this launcher. And for some reason on hers, 2 megabytes, 4 megabytes per second, and her game downloads, it's installed. We have the exact same SSD hard drive. We have the exact same frequency of RAM and quantity of RAM. Exact same version of Windows. And hers will always download perfectly, and mine will...
with me, I've only played a few games in the Epic Game Store. But what I have discovered is that it is a battery hog, which obviously you won't know because of desktop. Now, if I can have all my things open, I can be like watching something on YouTube, I can have like, VLC open, I can have the Internet Explorer open, Steam will be on, and I unplug the laptop and it says, you have 4.5 hours of battery life. If Epic is on, it will be like, you have 50 minutes. I don't know how It's like so, and it's literally just that my computer even gives me an indication saying something is using too much energy, and I check, and every time it's the Epic Game Store.
It's actually funny because you think about like what processes could this thing force my hardware to run to use more power, and when you said it's a battery, the one thing that came to mind was something funny that I read. I read long ago. Like people listening and be like, oh my god, he's talking about things that are cake. But it was a long ago meme, which is like lamps in games use real world electricity.
That's actually true. Yeah, I like that though. Everything is slowly destroying the environment.
Like lamps in games are using real world electricity. Now I'm thinking to myself, it's like you would think it's just a software. How could a software use so much electricity? You have to think like, what the fuck is it doing? What, like, your CPU is probably running at insane speeds, and then you got your poor laptop fan that's trying its best to cool it, and you're like, why? Why are you abusing me like this? And then the RAM is crying in the corner being beaten by Chrome's big dick. And you're just like, what madhouse is this? You guys are supposed to be optimized.
Yeah, it's great.
Now I'm a Firefox user.
I'm using Edge. It's been fine.
Yeah, but you've always been slow to progress from the...
I had
generics.
Firefox in the old days. And the only reason I decided to use Edge was because my father recommended it. And I was like, why not? He's an IT technician.
He is.
Yeah.
I'm an IT technician.
Yes, but he's older. Which means very little.
Yeah, because his definition of hip and my definition of hip is two different things.
Yeah, but I don't want a hip thing. I want something that just works.
Do you know what just works?
What?
Skyrim.
You know, it doesn't just work.
What?
Fallout 3. Anyway.
Speaking about horrible trashes that don't work, Fable Anniversary, I got it with my Xbox. Like I said, I've been playing a lot of Xbox, so I played some Fable Anniversary. I first thought that my console was overheating because I live up in an attic and it gets very hot. And I thought, no, my console's overheating. I mean, I showed you that my graphics card, blue screen, my computer because it was overheating. So I thought, no, it must be because I'll be playing it also and the game would freeze. And then I switched games. I switched to Alien vs. Predator, the Rebellion Studios one, which I think is a solid game, 10 out of 10. I loved it. But I've always been a softie for AVP games and just alien games, except for Isolation. I respect it. I'm just not going to play it. I'll watch other people play it.
I understand that because I played an hour of it and I just remember sneaking, being all, okay, and then I got into like an elevator, I turned around and it was coming at me as the doors closed.
And you're like, nope.
And I was like, cool, I'm not playing this again. Because I was like, was that a set piece or was it following me? I don't know.
That's the thing. But as I was saying, I realized then this game ran smoothly. Its graphics looked so much better, and I was actually like, wow, the graphics are actually not too bad on this game. And that's hard because I'm normally very sensitive to graphics. So I'm looking at this like, this is not a bad game. It still holds up. And I realized this piece of shit, Fable Anniversary, is not overheating my Xbox. This Xbox ran that game through the whole day. My AVP and Halo Reach never froze, and it got hot. It got loud in that room, and I realized no, it wasn't overheating. The fucking game was crashing. This is an anniversary of a game that was made, I would say, at the beginning of the console era. And now you're giving me a remastered, which it was, with the last model of Xbox 360. So this is the one with the big fat hard drive, the optimized graphics card, the more box-like look, not the like box on a diet look.
Yeah, like sort of con.
Yeah, the black. It almost looked like a rounded version of a PlayStation 3.
Okay.
You know, like
yeah,
it's pretty rounded, sleek, and it's got a big ass terabyte storage, so I could download games. And I think, you know, like this is Lionhead did themselves in. Like this was clear that this was their doing. Now, like when I heard about EA closing them down, I was like, no, my heart, oh no, black and white, oh no. And I'm like, you did this to yourselves.
Well, I don't know how much you know about Peter Molyneux.
Oh no, he's a fucking star.
So
he's a peacock. He's a peacock in his own right, eh? Genuine asshole, that one.
Peter Molyneux has always reminded me of David Cage. I don't know if you know David Cage as well. One of my favorite YouTubers, Jim Sterling, always makes fun of David Cage when he's talking about emotions in his games. My games have emotions.
The man was crazy. Did you know in Fable he wanted something, if it hit and it left a mark, for it to last the whole game?
I know that, but that's what he said to the public, that it would have. Then no one said to him, no one was like, Peter, please.
you don't stop.
Don't say what you want the game to be. Say what the game is. Because he did that all the time. He also said he wanted you to be able to plant an acorn somewhere and then for it to grow into a full tree.
Which is actually now doable with the technology.
Now doable, but that came out, like 2004?
But it's impressive. I mean, like, yes, he was a big thinker to the point of his own humiliation. But he did inspire Lionhead to make some pretty awesome mechanics. I mean, for Black and White, it was the tree growing and the population increase. So long as you had the resources to sustain the population, you could carry on forever.
Yeah.
And yes, it wasn't perfect. Yes, there was bugs, but like,
basically, I think he's got a lot of good ideas, but he needed a handler to like hit him.
Well, I was gonna say spray him with water.
Yeah, like spray him with water, hit him with a ruler, something to just make him be quiet. When he'd be like, okay, so what do you want the game to do? And then you could see him getting excited. Just hit him. And he'd be like, okay. So far, we're in the early stages. It's just conceptual. I want to... Ah!
How about they just don't have him speak?
Well, he eventually got wise to it and he stopped. There was an interview with Rock Paper Shotgun. I don't know if you know Rock Paper Shotgun.
Oh, yes.
So there's an interview with him. And the very first question they asked, fucking brutal, and they made Peter Molyneux cry. First question, like, oh, hello, Peter, hello. Do you consider yourself to be a pathological liar? And it's like a fucking long interview of him defending himself, being like, no, I'm not a pathological liar. And then he would get people into the room, onto the call, to be like, no, you guys, tell them. Yeah, shame. It was a bit brutal, but it was also very funny. So, shall we move on?
Yes.
So, crunch time corner. Crunch. We all love crunch. When you force your employees to overwork themselves, not go home and sleep under their desks and not pay them for overtime. It's a great industry practice. So, YouTuber, who I've never come across before, but it's called People Make Games. And he basically, it seems like I've never heard of him before this, but he put out a video and ended up winding up on a couple of the media websites. And he went and did some digging around and found out where these companies, when they say, we don't have crunch, it's often because they outsource their crunch.
I was actually about to mention that if you didn't.
Yes, so this is all about, so it was about Cyberpunk, where like they face crunch, and they're like a 200-person studio, and then he lists off all of the different places, like, oh, there's also like a studio in, you know, like Russia, and I think there's one in the States, and there's like two in like the Philippines, and he went in depth into like one of them, talking to the employees anonymously because once again, nobody ever wants to speak up because they will never be hired if you speak out about how the industry is shit.
But that's the kind of company I worked for. I worked
Yeah.
for an outsourcing company. The people in America that were hiring us, they were known for their ethical work processes and the way they handled their staff. And these guys barely worked late shifts or anything. Meanwhile, we're being whipped to work from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, maybe even through the night, on these products, on these various things. And like I would say that it's a slight tactic. It's like Apple in China, you know.
No, it's that. It is. It's just being like, we're great. We don't believe in crunch. It's nonsense. We're gonna just make the Africans do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna make the Asians do it. You know, we're gonna make someone else in another country, a third world country that you don't care about. We'll make them overwork and then underpay them.
And the thing is, the saddest part is these are honest to God skilled people. I'm talking about the same type of quality of people you would find at the big studios in the head divisions, the head branches. You find in these outsourced studios. The difference is they don't get what they would have. You could be that person that spearheads the Blizzard cinematics in South Africa, right? And you would work crunch. You would be paid horrible hours. You would be think about this, right? My job that I did, right? I got paid 7,000 rand for. I don't know how much that is now. You guys just look it up. I don't know conversion rates.
Yeah, so 7,000 probably somewhere in the realm of like $500 to $600.
Yeah,
Like that,
yeah. Well, I know that about $400, 1,000. No, definitely not 1,000. Listen to me, talking a whole lot of nonsense here. It's somewhere around there. Okay.
Yeah. Which to an American is considered poverty wages. It's below.
It's just a month.
Yeah.
So actually just go into your edge and let's see the actual conversion rate here.
All right. I'll edge for you.
All right. Edge Lord for the win. Okay, so let's put in 7,000 rand. So that's about $468. When I went on what was it? Is it pay scale? Is it pay scale?
That sounds familiar.
All right. So get this. I went into a conversation with my boss saying I wanted more money. The first thing he tells me is, did I look on pay scale? What pay scale is a website that compares your salary to the international standard. I was on 7,000. I said I wanted 8,000, right? Which is now just roughly 500 rand.
Dollars.
Oh, $500, sorry about that. And I'm looking at this and he goes, have you checked pay scale? I said yes. And it says that you need to pay me, according to the average that you like to boast about, 14,000. That's almost double of what he was paying me. Citing, I'm fresh out of college and blah, blah, blah. I was 2 years into this job already. I didn't work for another studio, all that. And I was like, bullshit, man. I've worked for your studio for 2 years. I have more knowledge about your studio and how the processes work. I should be paid more. And, yeah. So then he said, okay, show me. So I took him to my computer. First of all, he had a problem with me using my work computer for pay scale. But anyway, he's the first one to ask, did you check pay scale? So I take him to my computer and I show it there. It says 14. And he goes, oh no, you see, you're wrong. Come over to my desk. I go over to his. Now he's going to show me how he calculates my pay. He goes, no. You see, you've put here that you've worked for 2 years. You got 2 years experience. You're earning this much and you work this much hours. Now you see, the difference is you're considering the wrong things here. We don't work overtime. So you need to take that factor out. I don't make you guys work overtime. You just stay longer hours if you need to complete things. And he gave me a highly edited version in his favor of what I should earn. And then it showed I was just earning the right amount. And I was like, yeah, but you haven't factored in my training, my education. You haven't factored in the fact that I've been here for 2 years. You're taking this as if I was just a nobody walking off the street. You've taken away the fact that in 1 year I became the junior art manager. The next year I became the art director. I didn't stop in my path to get where I was. I proved myself time and time again against all my competitors, and I made it to your top candidate, and I was given the job, and the clients trust me because I was there from junior to art director. I was there proving myself to them that I could do the job, where they felt comfortable with sharing the information with me that allowed me to move forward. He took out all of that, and he basically said if I was a nobody that walked off the street and he hired me as a graceful act, that's my pay. And I'm like, what the actual fuck? And this is during a time where we were in crunch because he severely edited due dates, our schedule. So he had two. He had the managers plan out, one to show the client and one we're actually on. But he would fall into his own lie. Eventually, he would show the client the one, tell us, no, just make it look better for the client. He would send that one through. Then he would have a meeting with the client. He would believe his own lie. He would come back to us the next day, have the manager in the meeting and say, why are we behind? The client is asking me, why are we behind? And we're like, no. That's the Gantt chart that you asked us to make for the client to make it look nicer. Put more bars in green. This is the actual. And he goes, why haven't I heard about this? And he would play this act every single time, acting like he wasn't the one that threatened our wages if we didn't do this kind of backhanded line. Which is why I left the company. I didn't, because I was forced to be his he called it his bulldog, where you would be the one micromanaging, whipping the employees.
You were basically made to be the bad guy.
Yeah,
essentially.
The whole thing is his managers were his bulldogs, and he was supposed to be seen as he didn't deny this. He said it. You're my bulldogs. I'm supposed to be the good guy. I'm the owner. I'm supposed to be the person that comes in and says, no, it's fun. You guys are supposed to be business. I'm Mandela. You're Mbeki. So, and you understand, like, these are his words.
That's you see what this is. This is literally whenever...
This is narcissism to the point.
Whenever it comes to crunch, you always see it time and time again. It's never the fault of the workers. It's always the managers, the people on top, the guy on top. You know, the ones who are pushing that. Now, you were put up to a director, so you were made into basically be complicit in his...
But I wasn't, which is why I left.
Yes, I know. But you were supposed to.
Yeah.
You see, that was like the whole point. You were supposed to be a complicit asshole, and instead you have integrity, you piece of shit.
One of the worst stories that ever came out of crunch is I had a person under me, great person, worked their ass off. They came into the company just as we needed new staff, and they had to do crunch pretty early. And they were complaining that they weren't feeling well. And I had just let someone go that day for not feeling well, because my thing is, you ain't bringing the flu into my studio, because if you do, I'm not going to have one artist off. I'm going to have a team down, and that's catastrophic. So I sent them home. Boss didn't like this, because this is now, well, the owner didn't like this, and he's the office manager. He's the fire marshal of the building for our office. He's the fire marshal. He's the first aid guy, and he's the office manager, and he's the owner. Problem is, he's not in the office every day, which means being the first aid and being the fire marshal means fuck all. But anyway, I digress. He told me, he pulled me into me and said, look, you can't keep letting people go, because the past week I let 3 or 4 people off because they weren't feeling well, because we're in the peak flu season and we're in crunch. People's immune systems can't handle crunch and the flu. They're going to die. And I didn't want the entire department getting infected. I probably stopped a company-wide infection a few times because I sent these guys home, because they're sneezing, they got piles of tissues up by the desk. I don't want that in anybody's space, and that's spreading. And we had air conditioning. We barely had the windows open. And she comes to me, you can't let people play you. These people are lying to you. Don't let them lie to you. You can't just keep on letting people go home sick because you're going to close these doors. You're going to close the office doors if we keep on allowing these people to go home sick because we need to make these deadlines. All right. Just been chowed out. I sit down. Now, this person sitting behind me, I sit down and they message me and they ask, look, they're not feeling well. Can they go home? This person before this was sitting right next to the person I just sent home. Right? And I could see that when they came in that morning, they were a bit pale, just like the other person. But they didn't speak up until it was too late. Okay. I say, well, I just got told that if I don't stop this, I'm going to lose my job and I'm going to close down the company. So I thought, you know what? I had that selfish decision where you were just reprimanded. I thought to myself, okay, well, let me just do what he says. Maybe I'm actually being too soft, you know? So I said, no. I said, no, you can't go home. I already sent someone home. We're in crunch. We can't afford to lose anymore. Here I'm playing the bad guy. I'm the asshole. I didn't want to be. I've never, ever wanted to do that. I've always fought against him. But I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Because if I do this now, I will get into my second warning. Because my first warning was opposing him on his take on overtime. But that's another discussion. So I say no to this person. And I think an hour later, I get called into another private meeting with the boss. And he tells me, look here. He just went to the toilet and he heard someone crying. He waited. The person came out and he asked them what's wrong. And they said they don't know what to do. They're feeling absolutely nauseous. They can't do anything. They just want to go home. And I said no. He gave her a pardon and he sent them home. Right? And he tells me, I cannot abuse the staff like I just did. This motherfucker pulled me into a meeting an hour prior to tell me I cannot let anybody go home. And if anybody tells me, I must just say no. His orders. And now he's telling me that I am abusing the staff because I don't want to let them go home because he is obsessed with being that good person, the good guy. And I was like, I can't believe you actually just did this to me. You fucked me over. Because now you've also undermined my respect with my underling. Underling's a little bit of a
with your or subordinate.
Subordinate, yeah. You've undermined that because I laid my foot down because you told me it's that or my job. And now you're telling me I'm abusing the staff because I did what you told me. And it perfectly made sense when you realize this is the guy that believes his own lies. This is the guy that believes that what he's showing to the client is what is actually the stats when he's the one that's forcing us to alter the stats. He's trying to play the good guy hero, but micromanaging the bad. And he's completely flipped that switch. You know?
This kind of reminds me of something. Do you know who Bobby Kotick is?
No.
CEO of Activision.
Ah, okay, I should have known him.
Great guy. So he people don't like him, as I'm sure you can imagine, and it's become a bit of a trend to put devil horns on pictures of him, which he got very offended by and put out a public statement asking people to stop putting devil horns on him because it's affecting his dating life. And that just reminded me of what, you said this guy, wants to be like the good guy. And he's like, why? Whenever a girl looks me up, there's pictures of me with devil horns. I can't get laid.
But that's the thing. This guy, the owner had a girlfriend and she believed he was a fucking saint. She believed that he was being so gracious to his staff. Right? When she sees him interacting with his staff, he only brings her into the office or anything because this is not just a business for him. This is like his life. And he would bring her into the office. He would hang her artwork all over the office, and he would parade around like the saint. But that was just after he had a meeting with all his managers to say no, he's going to be taking off for the day. This is our first aider and our fire marshal taking off for the day because he can't be bothered to pay to train somebody else for the job. He reckoned that because he was in the Air Force that he knew better.
Oh yes, of course.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, you have raised bulldogs, but there was an outcome that wasn't in your favor. There were 4 of us. One of them became submissive, kissed ass like anything. But I think he had other stresses that he just didn't want to deal with. Also, 3 of us fought back. He started retrenching staff, but it wasn't like he had his dodgy financial advisor, who we also think was his shadow investor, come in, explain to us that we're going through retrenchments and that it's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and they'll let us know. Then 2 days after that, he while I'm working on a project, some of my staff get up and leave, and I said, "Where are you going?" They said, "No, the owner just called them into a meeting," because he had this very I can speak to anybody. I don't need to go through the chain of command. Chain of command needs to come up to me, but if I want to, I can speak to anybody. My door is always open, but only when I allow it, kind of thing. And so he called half the company walked out. Now this is not just artists from my department. There are developers that are now gone. And the manager looks at me, the co-director, he's looking at me, and he's like, "What the fuck is happening?" The staff come back and they pack up and they leave. 2 days, he gave them 3 weeks, he told them. 2 days he retrenched them. Then we find out, oh no, this guy has been with this man, this financial advisor has been there from the first day of the company. It just so happens that the company, then one of the managers, who also doubled as the administrator, started delving into the accounts. This is the guy that says, "I'm too busy," and he would sit on his computer on Facebook. I'm too busy. He wants to look always busy. But when he sits down, he's on Facebook. But he's not on Facebook sourcing anything. He's looking through yachts. He's living the lifestyle. And now the administrator sat next to him, and she delved into the books because she had to. She had to do all the books and everything. And she realized that he's a part of a contract buying a mansion in Tableview that is under his financial advisor's name, yet he had just retrenched half the company.
That is very, very common though with these people, because they make all the money and they just kind of dole out the cents.
He's the type that doesn't want to grow staff. He will refresh.
Yes.
He always believes in shrinking the company so that it's more manageable. You grow when you need to, and you shrink when you need to.
Well, I mean, a lot of game developers in general, or like devs, generally are on contracts. So they'll be like, "Yeah, you're with us for a year," and then you.
No, but he's an idiot. That's his problem. People don't want to work for him for contract because the job is shit. It's one of those junior fly traps, that junior web where you literally just out of studying, and it's the job you get, and you feel so grateful for it.
Yeah.
Because it's a big studio.
They grab you on your passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they exploit it.
And then when you had enough, you leave. But then they just grab the next batch. He would actively put out job adverts, not to hire anybody, but to collect CVs. Have them come in for interviews, rate them, and say, "No, I'll use them when I want to." And that's what it is. People get frustrated, they leave.
And he's always.
And then he refreshes it. Yeah.
It's great. It's a great industry. You see, this is also why it's cool. See, I've got like the critical side down. You have the industry insider side down.
I mean, like, I have an insider to what bad is, but I don't know what worst is, and I also don't know what good is.
You see, well, yeah. Well, I mean, for instance, what happened with Telltale? They came in and they were told, you have to have your stuff packed up and gone within half an hour.
Well, my staff weren't told that. He was basically saying, "Look, the severance package will come in 2 weeks."
Yeah, they didn't get severance packages.
And
America's a hellscape.
No. The severance packages were like literally bare minimum labor law packages. And then
but at least South Africa has labor laws.
Fair enough. and medical aid. Yeah. But he thought to himself, you know what? I'm gonna be a gracious man. He allowed them to leave on the day. if they wanted to start looking for a job. Now get this. This man just retrenched half the company. We're still in crunch. We still have to push out this by the due date. The due date was recalculated for the amount of staff we have on his own planned crunch schedule. And he just let go half the staff. I had a junior manager that had a breakdown underneath me.
I can imagine.
No, quit animation. Straight up just walked out. Never came back. He was there before me. He was there before me. He was my mentor, and I succeeded him. Not anything bad, but he just didn't want the role. Eventually, I was like, look, you actually are skilled. You older than me here. I need someone like you as a manager, because I need you to be able to teach the staff not just the software, but how the company works. And he just, the owner drove to his house, knocked on the door, and he just didn't answer. He was home. His mom answered the door, but he was like, his mom had to go over to his house and look after him. He snapped. I think he weighed the impossibility of this, and he just wanted out.
Yeah.
And he never returned. And this is a guy that was 3 weeks being paid the company's salary, who just didn't want to come to the company. I get told if I take 2 days sick leave without a doctor's note, I'm going to get a warning. This man took... But I guess the boss was sensitive to mental condition.
That's good, at least.
No, but in a really sick way. Like, he treated you special, but to stroke his own ego.
Okay.
It was you knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
But
like he was making himself a hero.
Yes, but you didn't care, because at least he was giving the attention where it was needed. But like, I've never had somebody actually just snap. Literally, he left his desk, program on, and he said, I'm gonna go home. And when I said that you can't just go home, he picked up his bag, packed everything up, and he left. And I've never seen him after that. I haven't heard a word from him, seen him in any gatherings. I think he literally just quit being an artist. I think the passion died right there and then. And it's terrible.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of outsourcing that your clean companies are doing. I mean, Anthem was outsourced to Triggerfish. Triggerfish is considered a cleaner studio, but they still have skeletons. It's a horrible place to be.
I have a feeling that whenever we come up to any crunch stories, that you're gonna.
No.
I think it can mostly be your area.
No, I'm going to refer back to this. I'm going to say I spoke about it in the past. I'll share some interesting stupid crunch stories, or maybe I'll share with you some stupid habits of the man. How he used to. This is before COVID. People getting sick in the office. Obviously, plague was spreading of flus and colds. He didn't want people to leave. So, you know what his next big option is? I'm going to sanitize the office. People are going to have their own sanitizing bottle, and they sanitize what they do. At that point, this was before COVID was a thing. This was back in 2017. And it seemed like such a great idea. And then this motherfucker buys us Window Lean. Window Lean is a product for cleaning windows. He buys us Window Lean as a hand sanitizer. Our hands burned. We had to clean our screen and our desk. Our hands dried out. And he's like, well, I never had a problem with it. It works for me. Dumbass.
See, it's nice to always see that resentment constantly bubbling under the surface. I just have to mention crunch. Like, oh, God! Triggered. Alright, so should we move on to the next thing?
Yes, you may move on.
Now this is just like an unfortunate thing, and it's also, to me, it's a constant warning. That because one of my big things, from previous discussion, is archival preservation of things.
Mm-hmm.
Very important to me. So the game Rust.
Mm-hmm.
So some of their EU servers caught on fire, and they lost everything. Now, at least with Rust, apparently they said that they wiped the servers once a month, except for like major private servers or something they're talking about. I don't play Rust, so I don't know the specifics there. But It's just, you should always know that the internet is a physical thing. It exists. It's in servers that can literally be destroyed. Information can be gone forever. It's attached to a physical thing. It's not magical in the air. The internet's a real thing. We're all connected to it through wires and wireless connections which connect to wires. So it's all real, and it's just good to know that it can all disappear one day. And it's good to know that, and to just know that even internet data is not necessarily safe just because it's on the internet.
They do have a fail-safe called partitioning, or specifically RAID partitioning, and that does work. But when you have the server farm burning, you're not gonna.
Yeah, the entire building caught on fire. Personally,
Rust is not for me. I feel for the people that have lost.
Yeah,
I understand how investing so much time into a game and then having it all that time gone. I understand that. I've lost several games from just games shutting down servers. But Rust was never my thing.
Yeah.
The thing is, I may be self-deprecating, but I don't inflict actual harm on my psyche. Going into Rust is like dressing up as the most offensive thing to a faction and then walking into that faction's gathering. When you go into Rust, you got to know that someone's going to steal or break your hard work. And in the end, it's that thing of, I'm going to build the best base that's going to stop somebody. And you're going to be feel chuffed about it. When the person gets in, or even worse, when they lock you out of your own house, own everything that you own, take over your base. Why?
Yeah, survival games in general aren't for me. But, yeah. The only thing I remember about Rust was that you can get cocks, which is nice. Randomly assigns you a penis size.
I get the realism and that games have to have, like, you want to make it bare neck. Like, Conan Exiles also did that. But again, what was it? The bigger your dick, the stupider you are. I can't remember. I think that was Exiles. Was it? I'm not too sure, but there was a game mechanic that the bigger your dick. Scum did it. Scum has one of the most intense, like, physical character creators. Your weight, your size, your muscle mass, all adds to your stats. Smaller build, fatter, you're going to have more health and more intelligence. Right? And also your penis size or your breast size factored into that. And you would essentially have less intelligence for how big your breast or your dick was. And I found that hilarious. But I always found that games that show nudity just for the sake of being realistic, then don't show it. The reason is it serves no purpose other than to make that awkward moment where the one time you don't have your pants on, your friend or parent walks into your room or something, that's the only thing it creates. Like, I don't feel that genitalia add to the
except in that one Free Lives game, Genital Jousting.
No, but the thing is, that's a game based on genitals. I'm talking
based
about
on the penis.
The addition of genitals through realism.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't add
fan
anything.
service. Okay, fine.
Although those games, I don't know if anyone's joking off to Rust. You know what? You shouldn't say that. Of course, someone's joking off to Rust. Someone's joking off to everything. But
even this podcast.
I'm a furry. You're a bearded man. You're an animator. Very sexy.
What?
Because you have to, like, work yourself after death in crunch.
No, so not anymore.
I know, but you have the experience. So you can work yourself to death to pleasure the other. See? I'll just irritate them with my word.
I did get married, you're alright, so.
Yeah. That's how it works. So, are you ready for the final
Yes.
story of the day.
Yes.
Now, first off, before I start, have you ever heard of the Sinking City?
Yes.
Do you know anything about it?
I saw a bit of it when I went to the rumors, but when the first looks and things like that, or just the general information came out, I would say at the time I wasn't interested. I never really invested heavily into it. I just kind of like, it was one of those things that are on like when you have lists and you're like, oh, okay, next.
Okay, so you kind of just know about the game, you don't know about the
Yeah.
story behind it.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, it's basically a Lovecraft-inspired, existential horror type third person. There's lots of tentacles, that kind of vibe. So the story behind the Sinking City, it released to like, it was considered one of those like janky games, but it had a following. People liked it, even though it didn't really work very well. Like, it wasn't a good game, but people did like it. Certain people. It's all fine, all good. Then the game gets pulled from Steam by its own developer, and people are like, what's happening?
So you mean something that I paid for a game that you no longer want me to play?
It's a whole story.
Refund?
No, well, no, if you have bought it, you still have it. They can't take it away, but it's no longer for sale, so no one can buy it. So they pull it off for sale. People are like, the hell? Turns out they have a bit of a situation with the publisher, Nacon. And the publisher, well, they're basically having all these disagreements about things, and they were not willing to pay Frogwares, the developer, sort of what they were owed. So it was going to court, so they're like, we're going to pull the game from Steam completely until we've sorted all this out. Okay, you would think. And that was like a couple like months ago, I think. Mm-hmm. This is just, no one thought the story would really come back. The game came back to Steam. People were like, oh cool, it's come back to Steam. Until Frogwares, the devs, come forward and they go, do not buy the game that's on Steam. It has been cracked and put onto Steam by the publisher without our consent. And so...
Publisher wants to make money and jeez.
So they DMCA'd their own game to get it pulled off the service. And then they're like, no. And then they said, the reason we know it's cracked is because it has, like, there's something specific about a DLC that's in it, which seems to be in this version, which was never given to the publisher. So they uploaded, like, a cracked version of the game. Which, I mean, pirating games for yourself is one thing, but pirating a game as a publisher and then putting it on Steam to sell it, that's something completely different.
What were they thinking?
Fuck knows. And then Nacon were like, no. Then they accused Frogwares of not basically going in on their contracts properly. Like, they were supposed to do this in their contracts and they backed out. So basically, both sides are flinging shit at each other. And neither side seems to... No one knows which side is... Like, it's a he said, she said kind of situation. But ultimately, the big story was the fact that they DMCA'd their own cracked version of a game. So that is... Like, I've never heard of a story like this before. Like, I've never heard of a publisher being like, yeah, you know what, we're going to crack the game and fucking put it on. And that you have to know that they had to have gone to, like, an engineer at the company or something, like at Nacon, to be like, we need you to crack this game. Because how else are you going to crack, like, the game? Unless what they've downloaded from Pirate Bay.
But now that, little did I know that poor developer is now sitting ice cold in a hole somewhere. If Namco knew what was good for them, that's not a position I would never want to be brought. This, please, you're gonna need to do this because it's gonna fall on me. Then it's gonna be a story of, oh no, this guy was rogue.
Yeah.
And I would, because the moment you get a order like that, you know that that's the end of your job.
Yeah.
You don't take it, they fire you. You take it, it's gonna get exposed. And you're going to be fired. So
far, nothing has come out and it's sort of died away again. But I have a feeling that the story will come back at some point in the future.
It's like the itch.
Yes, yeah. We're going to eventually get, it's going to happen. But yeah, just fucking crazy story. Like, who does this? Like, imagine if EA was like, oh no, like we used to work with these guys and they don't want to work with us anymore. We're just gonna crack their game and put it on Steam. Like, what the fuck? It's not a good look.
It's not a good look. Did you look into Namco? What else are they publishing?
They're like a Ukrainian. I've never heard of them before. So I think they've mostly published games that I've never heard of. Like I looked at them and I was like, I don't know any of these games. Apparently they're well, like the Sinking City I think is still on consoles. Like they were the PC publisher or something like that. But yeah, the situation is just carrying on, and it's
Oh man, like I just went down like a little bit there, like thinking to myself, it's times like that where you don't just it feels more spiteful. It feels more an act out of spite rather than a business move, because in any regard it's not a smart. What were you hoping to achieve?
Yeah, it's a fucking stupid business move.
That they would keep quiet and just allow them to crack their game and profit from it. I mean, like. That's like that issue with I think it's Call of Duty, and they having a little bit of a beef with an artist.
Yes.
Where they like just ripped off the entire character.
Yeah.
Like no, it's our work. Meanwhile, you've sourced the footage and the images from this photographer. You've taken everything. You've made requests for them to do the same shit for you, and now you're denying that it's there. But the proof is right there in front of you. What the fuck is going on? Why are these game publishers doing this shit? Like, do they honestly think that they're the level of Epstein where they can pull anything off and people will just look the other way?
Yeah, it's a clusterfuck, but it's a glorious trash fire. So I'm sure that this will come because this
it will light the way.
This cannot be the end of the story.
No, it cannot.
It's going to carry on. So at some point in the future, we'll talk about it. I will keep my feelers out.
No, we must. We must keep up with because this is the kind of shit where you're like, someone had to do it. Yeah. This is the equivalent of shit that you would see on Jerry Springer. I think the poverty cost. I don't know. Like we should have like a Jerry Springer type deal where if you get famous enough, we interview the real like rejects of the game industry. Finding out what the fuck happened to them.
I think that would be really fun. Fuck. It's great. And I wanted to say before, like it's that let's say the crunch thing is like more serious, but I was like, this needs to be saved for the end because this is like.
No man, this is crazy stupid. This is absolutely crazy stupid. Like, I remember like. Reading this thing where it's like game publishers, you're either gonna have to fight the piracy or you're gonna have to embrace it. How do you embrace piracy? I mean, like you're losing money. It's obvious, but I think that's kind of also where mods help, because you're not gonna get the same experience as modding as you are with modding an official version. You're always up to date, and the mods always update with the version. And I think that's something. But like, I've never thought of fighting piracy. My thing was this: I want to make a game that people want to buy, not for the, not because I want to make money or oh no, this game costs a lot, we need to make back. I want to make a game where people are like, no, we have to buy it. Not forcing them, but making it something that's so good that you'll buy it 3 or 4 times for 3 different platforms. Making it that game where, yeah, you're going to pirate it. So be it. I'm not going to try and put so much money into anti-pirating software. If you pirate it, congratulations, you got the game for free. You've enjoyed it. Okay. So be it. But I think that, I think we give pirates too much credit. In the sense that, yeah, there are a lot of people that pirate games, but there's a lot of people that have grown up and have the only reason why they're pirating the game is because either they don't want to pay for it or they don't have the means to pay for it. Now, a person that genuinely enjoys games but can't afford it, well, when they can afford it, buy games. A person that just doesn't want to bother with affording it is still adding to your value. Why? They're going to tell somebody about this game, and sure, that person might pirate it, or they might give that guy a pirated copy. But they will tell someone else about your game. Now you're not getting them to buy your game, but you're hitting other things like views, and people are looking at your game, people are spreading it. Yeah, it's not profitable, but man, do you have a good marketing team behind you. And I don't know, like with the way game development is going, pirating is not very feasible with most games, because most games are going through alphas and betas, and you can buy them in those states. And it does mean that these guys are never going to get the full experience. Eventually they're going to get so upset because the piracy crackers can't keep up with the versions. Then they're eventually going to buy the game. Now they bought the game. Now they already have the game through all the versions. And we've almost supported piracy on the podcast before, but I don't think piracy should be seen as something that's crippling the industry. I think it should be seen as another means to more money if you know how to utilize it.
Well, I can't remember who it was, but one of these devs, it was years ago, I can't remember who it was, but they purposefully went onto like the Pirate Bay forums and stuff to help people who had like issues with the games. They were like, and they said, because we want everyone to have the best possible experience of our game.
No, the thing is, that's the thing. Like, I don't want people to go around thinking piracy is good. It's not. It does damage the publisher, and it does damage it. And you might think, oh, these guys are already earning so much money, but really, the publisher is earning money. The studios are earning baseline contractual agreement money. They're not actually, and they're paying back loans that they had to take out in order to develop this game. So, yes, you're hurting the studios, but I think in that, like, think about it. Where the studio makes the most money, unfortunately, it's also where the publisher makes the most money, is the anniversaries, the game of the years. And the reason why is, if you pirate a game when it first comes out, and you enjoyed it, you're fucking buying that Game of the Year edition, because you're not going to pirate a game that you've already played. Unless you want all the DLCs. And then if you pirate it, so be it. But you're more likely to get people buying your Game of the Year edition with all the content. I mean, most of the people that raved on about The Witcher, in my experience, were pirate people. And now they all own it. Whether it was through a Steam sale or whatever, they still, at the end of the day, played the game, enjoyed it enough to pay for it. And I've always believed that if you enjoy it, you pay for it. My friends get so irritated. They first pirate games, and then they get so irritated that it's not up to date, that they just buy the game. But I think they're the types to pirate the game to test it out, and if they like it, they'll buy it. I'm the same. I want to test it. If I pirate your game and your game is shit, your game doesn't deserve my money. Because the reason why I do this is gone are the days of demos. Yeah. You can't download a demo. You have to watch a YouTube video and think if you want the game. You make the purchase or trust a developer trailer. Trust that the game will be good. Buy the game and get disappointed. Yeah, you can refund it, but I don't know, I don't know.
I do like the idea though that, because you said, how do you combat piracy? And now I'm just thinking, do you think that Nacon thought, I know how we can fight piracy? Let's become pirates. I mean,
well, if you can't beat them, join them. I think
exactly. And I think that's pretty much everything. Unless you have anything else.
No. Like I said, I went into this blind. I didn't have the time to review the scripts to find out what we're actually talking about. But I guess, I was just as surprised, and I think that was quite nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like to be informed, sometimes I just like to be surprised. but I do feel that the surprise part does cost a bit in the length department.
Maybe, but I think that you really enjoyed learning about the sinking ship thing.
That was,
Completely blind.
Yeah, no, that was great.
Yeah, because it's a story. A great story.
Yeah, game politics. You wouldn't think that an area like this would be so political, but like it's a company, it's a business.
Yeah.
You're gonna have money. When money's involved, people are flinging shit.
Yes, exactly. But I think that's it. So should we say our tatas?
Our goodbyes.
No, I call it guten tages. Hi.
Take care, fare thee wells.
Fare thee wells. Tatas. I already said that one. The
sayonara.
Goeiemiddags. That's midday. Goeienacht.
Shut up.
Tot ziens. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Other words I'm sure exist. Ciao. When you want to be an asshole, you say ciao.
I mistake that. I thought they meant I need to eat. Maybe this is why like this. People keep trying to get rid of me, and I've just been eating. People think I'm a comfort eater. I was just misunderstanding what was being said.
So, I think I'll probably have another podcast before my next video goes up, I think.
It is likely.
Yeah. But in, 15 days from this. So basically 2 weeks from when this comes out, will be my next video, which is about Carrion. Which, I don't know if you know Carrion.
You spoke about it last time.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, should be fun. It was very interesting. It was fun to do. It was like a proper analysis type thing, which I enjoyed. It was cool. So that'll eventually come. Other than that,
and soon next month I may be starting my own little side project.
Yes.
Might take maybe a month or two to properly get started, but we'll see.
Yes, and if it all goes, then I'll possibly be doing some voice acting. It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll hear my dulcet tones in many places. Other than that, I'm on Twitter at @LC_Lupus. My blog, wailingwolf.wordpress.com. YouTube, LC Lupus. I think that's it. And then this, no, I don't need to plug where this is from because you're listening to it. But yes. So this has been the 2 Cent Report, I believe.
This has.
It's been fun.
It's been fun. You've been wonderful. Take care, guys.
Thanks. And as I always say, because it started as a joke, but now I've decided it's how I always sign off. I love you.
You don't have to explain it every time.
I love you, Tristan.
Reverse psychology. I'm only 8.